This week we are talking Star Wars High Republic, Bob Iger stepping down, Project GG, and Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and more on You Heard with Nerds.
Yeah. Welcome on into the podcast. I'm Brett.
I'm Dorian.
And we got some nerd news for you guys. There was a lot of, well, not a lot. There was a huge kind of Star Wars reveal, I guess.
Yep.
So, I mean, a lot of this is like information that we've known that they're going to the High Republic next. But what we didn't know was kind of how that was going to play out. They had this thing called Project Luminous that they'd been hinting at for a while. Mm-hmm. And so Lucasfilm finally came out.
Pulled back the curtain.
It was like, here it is. So essentially, we get some new Star Wars books, like novels, probably in comics too, and some young adult novels as well.
Yeah.
And this is kind of, I like how they explain this. What just kind of talking about like where the Republic's at, what's going on, how the Jedi are perceived, and maybe this is like a different Jedi than we got in the prequels.
Right, because in the prequels, they're kind of more like almost like samurai in figure here. Very noble.
Samurai, yeah, monk type, almost, yeah.
Yeah, peacekeepers essentially, and they're, they advise, political leaders. They, go out and fight when necessary for the most part.
Keepers of the peace.
Exactly, but according to this High Republic initiative that they're putting out, it's set 100 years. Or I think roughly
200 years.
Yeah, 200 years before any of the Skywalker saga. So before the Phantom Menace. And it's the Republic at its peak. And they're going to be basically kind of like Walker, Texas Ranger style.
Yeah, / Knights of the Round Table.
Kind of thing, yeah.
Which is two very different things in my head. But
it really is, in all honesty. I mean, so, the only thing that I think really kind of comes to my mind when I hear that in terms of reconciling the two is like a Witcher here. You have a Witcher that goes out and like he's kind of on his own hunting monsters, but he also has like a Witcher order that he adheres to, kind of thing almost here. But
yeah, I'm guessing they'll kind of have posts and all that and be kind of set up in different areas of the galaxy.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, according to like this news that broke out, it's going to be the Republic at its peak, essentially. It's going to be a peacetime. And essentially what they're doing is they're looking to like, expand the Republic beyond like what it already is. So you're going to like the Outer Rim places and all that, probably where it's more Wild West, more places untouched by the prosperity of the Republic.
Right. And the Republic's not as big either.
Right.
Not quite yet. But it does talk about the Republic being at its peak, meaning, I don't know what that means, because they talked about it's not as big, but it's at its peak. So I'm guessing, like, as far as, like...
It's probably the most prosperous it's been in terms of that.
Well, they said it's a time of peace, too. Yeah. There's no Sith, which I think will be interesting to have a whole kind of series without Sith.
Right.
Now, as of now, they've just released that they're doing books and comics.
Right.
And we're all guessing it'll eventually lead into a follow-up series and movie.
Right. Now, one of the things that was really interesting to me that stood out about this announcement is they use the word that it's going to have interconnectivity and it's going to follow a core group of heroes that will expand.
Right.
Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like MCU talk to me.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I think, honestly, just going to be a Star Wars version of the MCU. I think, they're going to be also, I think, cashing in a little bit on that prequel nostalgia a little bit, just because there's, people who are, who grew up with the prequels, like that is Star Wars to them. That is like, their main introduction to Star Wars. There's a nostalgia to it. So I think this is going to, kind of serve a little bit of that, like, hold that people might be wanting right now. Just kind of like how the Mandalorian kind of did that for like people who grew up with the original trilogy and who were big fans of the original trilogy.
Yeah, just more Jedi, more fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Less focus on just a couple characters, more focus on a broader spectrum. Even though the prequels were that, they did focus on specific characters. There were so many background character Jedi.
Yeah.
It just made it feel a lot bigger.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one thing that nobody can fault the prequels for is it did a lot of world building, especially for something that's already been established and whatnot. And, most of the time it was pretty cool. You get people like Darth Maul, you get like cool planets and stuff like that. And just kind of like, and kind of a different lens to look through the Star Wars universe in. But no, going back to like, I mean, right now, this is just books, comics. I mean, it's going to have multiple publishers behind it. But here's the thing. I think Disney is planning to, essentially spin it off into TVs and movies. Because, I mean, the thing is you can't sell action figures just based on books.
No, not necessarily. No,
not really.
Not for kids.
Not for kids. So, I mean, it's going to be it's just going to be a matter of time, I think. I think this is just them kind of just setting up the groundwork, setting up like building interest essentially.
Well, I know that the next Star Wars movie comes out in 2022.
Yeah, and we don't even know what that's going to be. Is that going to be Old Republic? Is it going to be?
Yeah, we don't know. I'm guessing it could be High Republic. It might not be. It might be something else, and they might be leading into who knows what. It could be a thing in and of itself. So
yeah.
But yeah, I like what they're doing. From a person, we're talking about story building. This is something that Star Wars has done for a long time. They've had comics, they had the books, but like they're really focusing on this specific era, which I think is cool.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but so they have not touched this era in Star Wars mythology, like in any books or any of the extended universe stuff that came beforehand.
I mean, there could have been, but the way they phrased it in the
reveal,
trailer,
yeah,
like we've never been there. And so it's like all new characters except for Yoda. Yoda will be there.
Yeah.
And so I'm just excited for that. Excited to see Yoda in kind of a different, like he'll still be the leader of the Jedi, obviously.
Or will this be him like actually becoming the leader of the Jedi, kind of like seeing the steps on that? Or
I don't know. I think he's been doing it for a while.
I mean, he's definitely has been, but
It could be. It could be kind of a Commissioner Gordon in The Dark Knight kind of thing.
Kind of
like
thing,
he's not
yeah.
the Commissioner Gordon yet. He's like Lieutenant.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. We can see. I'm excited. There's no Sith. The Nile are the new villains, and they said they're like space Vikings, which kind of sounds cool.
Now they did say something at the end of that trailer about like something like a new threat that they haven't really.
They said there's an event that happens.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember the name of it though. I forgot to write that down.
Yeah.
But like this great catastrophe happens,
and that sets like the events in motion, which I'm assuming that's going to be kind of like a catalyst for like probably like all the different books and like the different characters will be following that. Kind of like how with the MCU with like the Battle of New York kind of like changed things and set different things in motion and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I like what they're doing. I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right, up next, Bob Iger steps down.
Yeah.
Which was really kind of out of nowhere.
No, it was because according to IGN, he was originally supposed to retire in 2018, but because things were, I guess, going well, he had his contract extended till 2021.
Yeah.
And he's being replaced by Bob Chapek, who was the former chairman. Apparently, Disney likes guys named Bob for
they love
head
Bobs,
positions.
Everyone, if you're a Bob, you're going to work for Disney and you're going to run it.
Yep. So Disney is still. So he's still going to be at Disney as executive chairman until
kind of weird though.
December 31st, 2021.
Until his contract's up, essentially.
Yeah, basically. And Bob Iger has been the CEO of Disney since 2005. So pretty long run. And not to mention too, it's like you look at what he has done for the company or what decisions he's made for the company in that time. I think during that time, they officially bought Pixar. They also bought Marvel. They pushed the 3D movie initiative, now Disney's like making movies like Frozen. Like,
oh yeah,
they moved away from like the 2D.
Pixar.
Yeah,
They acquired Pixar during that time too. Yeah.
But and then obviously Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars, Marvel, all those things. Like,
yeah. So I mean,
he's been a big part of it.
He's been a big player, and he essentially made Disney the empire what it is today here. So it really feels odd that this, announcement almost feels like it just kind of came out of nowhere. And it just, when you hear somebody saying that they're stepping down, typically from what I can recall, most of the time, if it's just the usual thing, they announce it and then like it happens like over a course of like maybe a couple weeks, months, or however. This was like immediate.
Yeah.
So my question is, what happened? Because I feel like there's something that's not being said here.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, there's a lot of different things it could be, and maybe he was just like, maybe it was a personal decision, like, hey, I'm done, like I'm spent, like,
yeah,
I need time. But the first thing is scandal, like that's what people are going to think of, and
right.
Probably already are speculating on what it is.
And I mean, it does make a little bit of sense just for like the urgency of him stepping down for it to be a scandal. But
Sure.
At the same time, if it was a scandal, I would imagine he would probably
fired.
He would have probably been cut off from the company altogether. That way they don't have any tarnish or on their name. But yeah, I mean, health problems potentially, like, we mentioned. I mean, he is, I think, 69 years old roughly. So, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it could be just that wear and tear, like,
yeah,
I am 70. Like, I need to step back now, or I'm going to, it's not going to be good for me.
Yeah. But I think maybe the most likely thing is like it could be like him and Disney had like or like the board had like a conflict of interest.
Yeah, it could be.
Or, there's like maybe some type of like Disney controversy that's, coming up that he doesn't want to be responsible for. Like, it could, I mean, potentially Disney Plus could be having a little bit of a hard time because I was reading online that apparently their subscribership is down 80%.
Wow.
Which,
that's pretty big.
That's pretty big, but yeah, so I don't know if it could have been like, he wanted to make a decision on one thing, the board decided another way, so they decided, so he's, at that right point in time, he's like, all right, forget you guys, I quit. Mm-hmm. You can have somebody else do your thing, because, I don't know, it just seems odd for it to be stepping down and there not to be like any really main things, because if
it's just news to us, like, and it's just like, no, this has been planned, and I just didn't care to let people know.
Could be.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Anyway, it kind of interests, what it means for the like, it's the interesting part is what it means for the other franchises that Bob Iger acquired, and I'm hoping other Bob is just as excited about Star Wars and Marvel as we are. And so
exactly, yeah. I mean, I think like by and large, Marvel and Star Wars are going to be fairly unaffected, just because you have Kevin Feige, who's running the show, and obviously knows what he's doing on that front here. And, it seems like Star Wars is going in a fairly good direction, with the Mandalorian and then the High Republic. So I think by and large it's going to be pretty much remaining the same for the most part. I think just Bob Iger would just allow them to do their thing. They did it. He was happy with it, so he just kept it going.
Yep.
So,
in that same vein, Spider-Man 3 got an announcement just, I think, today or yesterday.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
We got a release date.
For the record, we're talking like what is going to be the potentially good Spider-Man 3.
Right, not the Tobey Maguire one.
Yeah, no, Tom Holland, essentially the sequel from Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yep.
So
kind of exciting. It's coming out in July of 2021.
Yeah, so I mean, despite all that drama that we had back in summer with Disney and Sony, it doesn't seem like really there's any delay on this movie because roughly these movies have been like about 2 years apart.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they have to be like literally starting filming like any time now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they probably already had like rough drafts of scripts already.
I'm sure. They're
already
gonna
lying
map
around.
out.
So they just had to actually begin like full, start the machine up like full throttle here.
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, I mean, I'm not like the biggest Spider-Man guy in the room, but given what happened at the end of Far From Home, spoiler alert, basically
Spoilers.
Peter Parker's identity gets revealed to the whole world. And yeah, so I'm really excited to see where they go with that, just because I feel like you're kind of getting like a little bit of that Civil War storyline with Spider-Man where he reveals his identity. In that one, he does it willingly, but basically he has to deal with like the fact that all the villains know who he is. They can find out where he lives now, and it puts like all the people he cares about at risk here. So
Yeah.
no, I think it's going to be a really, really interesting movie, and just kind of seeing like how
how is that even gonna work?
exactly. Well, especially considering how like in the MCU, like pretty much like Spider-Man, I think is like one of the few heroes that actually has a secret identity here. I think for the most
by and
part,
large, most of them don't. I guess.
yeah. So it's So I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, we have some little bit of video game news, and we'll go back to some movies. But Project GG is revealed. Now, tell us about this, Dorian.
So Project GG is a new game that is announced by and developed by Platinum Games. There's only a teaser trailer right now. Basically, what the teaser shows is a dude who basically morphs a giant mech suit to fight a kaiju. Now, you got an opinion on this.
It looks to me like a Power Rangers ripoff.
And for all intents and purposes, it is.
Yeah, it looked cool.
Yeah.
The morph was cool.
Well, and here's the reason why this interests me is just because Platinum has a pretty good pedigree to them. They make, crazy over-the-top action games, and I'm kind of excited to see what they do with this in a large-scale setting here. Like, are there going to be points in time where you jump out of the mech suit and you're like running up like the monster's arm or something like that? I mean, I wouldn't put it past them to do something crazy like that here. But yeah,
It looks interesting. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but no, I'll be keeping my eye on it.
Cool. So we talked about a new Indiana Jones coming out.
Yeah.
We got some pretty big stuff attached to that.
So yeah, we got some updates on that.
Yeah. No Spielberg.
No Spielberg and no Lucas either, apparently.
So why even do it?
Yeah. I mean,
Harrison Ford needs to get paid.
Basically.
He should have just. Yeah.
I mean, I would have been fine if they ended the franchise with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I felt like, even though like that movie is not exactly the greatest Indiana Jones movie out there, it still felt like a pretty solid ending to like end the franchise on here. But no, but where there's money, there is sequels. And so apparently Spielberg will be a producer. All this news is coming from Variety. But the person that is looking or is being looked at to replace Spielberg is James Mangold, which if you are unfamiliar with him, he directed Logan and Ford versus Ferrari. So,
I mean, solid director.
Yeah, no, pretty solid director, pretty good pedigree. But again, it's like, if you don't have a great script, you could hire the best director in the world, and it's still probably not going to be like that great of a movie if your writing's not on point.
Oh yeah.
So, but I don't know. I mean, I'm interested in just to see how this movie shakes out. I'm not super hopeful for it being like
it's gonna suck.
Great, but I mean,
hopefully with James that it will be okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if anyone's really asking for this movie.
I mean, I'm really not, to be honest with you. I mean, it's like, I don't know. If you can surprise me, I'm okay with that here. But, I feel like you definitely have a lot of hoops to jump through in order to really make this or really justify why this movie should exist.
Sure.
So,
no, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, we'll see what happens with it. But in other news, Batman leaks. For those of you who don't know, there's a lot of leaks out there for the new Batman Robert Pattinson movie. Mm-hmm. We got the suit reveal a couple weeks ago. Now we get a full picture. We were talking about how we could not see his ears.
We could not see his ears. We also couldn't really get a good idea of what the color of his suit was with the red lighting and all that. But now we actually got some
So how do we
some pictures caught of him in the wild.
How do we feel about these ears, Dorian?
The ears look weird to me. They look more like, I don't know, antennas and like bat ears is just my initial first impression from looking at them.
Yeah, they're really thin and short.
They're really thin, short, look kind of flimsy, to be completely honest.
It's an odd.
I mean, it reminds me a little bit of like the Michael Keaton suit a bit, but only it just feels like less. I don't know. It just feels like less. They just feel like less sturdy, I guess.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I know what you're saying.
So, I mean, the suit looks all right. Just based on first impressions. I mean, and what we can see of it, it looks like they're kind of going for more of a prototype type look, which I mean makes sense because this is supposed to be a younger Batman early in his career. This is before he gets like the really, really good bat suit or what have you. So I don't like the fact that he's wearing goggles just because they did that like in Justice League with him. And I didn't think that really made sense for the most part.
Yeah.
And mostly just because I think whenever you put goggles on Batman, he looks a lot like a Night Owl from Watchmen. And
kind of, yeah.
And I'm just like, no, just if you're going to put goggles, at least have them have like the white eyes or something like that. Have them light up. I mean,
could still happen. We don't know.
Like, why wouldn't you?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much my opinions on it. I mean, now there is rumors about the circus playing a part of this movie.
Right. Yeah. There could be a potential Robin origin at the very least.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like
the Robin character in the movie.
Yeah, or like an Easter egg or something like that. But I feel like if you're going to do the Robin origin like right now, probably too soon for.
I mean, if you look at it from how long we've had Robin, we haven't had him since the Schumacher.
Yeah,
movies.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So,
yeah, I think Robin is a little bit of a tricky character to do on the big screen and like do him like seriously for the most part.
Because he's comedic relief.
Well, I mean, yeah, at least starting out, he's comedic relief. I mean, and not to mention you're basically like employing a child to like go out on dangerous missions with you to fight crime here and stuff.
Not very PC right now.
Not very PC. I mean, yeah. So, but. I think I think you have to really, do something creative to kind of work your way around it. That way it's like, for one, believable to audiences. And two, you're kind of avoiding all that, child endangerment red tape here.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really care for the ears at all either. We'll have to see it in action, but it just kind of looks odd.
It does.
In the pictures we've seen.
I think one of the things that will really bust or really break the movie for me is when you're seeing him like fight and moving around and stuff like that, if the ears are kind of rocking back and forth like you know.
I don't think they can. I think they're going to have to make them sturdy.
Yeah, sturdy enough.
Yeah, if they're flopping, I'm out.
Yeah, that's just going to break all my concentration on like whatever's going on in the movie, and I won't be able to actually like
pay attention.
Yeah, focus on what the movie's actually trying to do here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the idea of a Robin, or at least getting hinting at a Robin coming soon. Not necessarily in this movie, but maybe the next movie or the movie after. I don't know how many they're going to make, but
yeah, I mean,
I think it's inevitable that Robin will come to this franchise.
Well, it was one of those things when Ben Affleck's Batman was, going to be the main Batman. Is like it was kind of almost like seemed like it was going to be a genius move, just because you bypass the whole okay, yeah, we're training Robin up. He's a child.
Yeah,
all that red tape
older.
we were just talking about. It's like, okay, you could literally start him off as Nightwing. You could literally start, the Red Hood and like, all the other Robins and all that already grown up here, instead of having to like, try to, make, an origin for modern day, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
More on that at a later date. Mandalorian Season 2 gets some heavy-hitting directors, which is pretty big news, I think.
Yeah.
We haven't had any Mando kind of news as of late.
No, we have not.
Even though they're shooting it right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, did these names just get released, or are they adding to like later episodes maybe in the season? I don't know.
I'm not entirely sure. I would assume it's probably maybe the former rather than the latter.
Right. So one of those being James Mangold.
Yeah. So, I mean, like we mentioned earlier, guy directed Logan, Ford versus Ferrari. So,
Yeah.
Also,
both good movies. Great movies.
He also directed 310 from Yuma. So that's, a Western. So,
Yeah.
which is,
I never saw 310 to Yuma.
it's a decent movie. I mean, but,
Robert Rodriguez,
yeah, Robert Rodriguez.
which I know him from Spy Kids.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting because Robert
He
Rodriguez.
did Sin City too.
I think he did do Sin City, maybe. I am not entirely sure, but he's got like a really interesting resume because he does like he did I think Machete.
Yeah.
Did Spy Kids. He also did that one movie that came out last year, Lead a Battle Angel.
Oh, that was him.
I think that was him. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, but I think he's a competent director. I think he's I think he'll be just fine. And,
Yeah. Sin City, Spy Kids.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay. But, and then, last one on the list, Bryce Dallas Howard is returning to direct, which, for those of you who don't remember, she was the one who directed the 4th episode of The Mandalorian, which is the one that takes place on that planet with the village and
The AT-AT
yeah,
or the ATST.
Yeah, the ATST, yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, all good things. I mean, I wasn't super crazy about Bryce's episode that she directed, but I still think it was solid, and I don't think it was bad by any way, shape, or form.
Totally.
Yeah.
I agree. No, I'm excited for Mando Season 2. I was just talking about that with my wife the other day. I was like, I can't wait. Come on.
Well, especially now that they'll have all the toys and everything like ready, for, when it premieres in the fall.
Yeah, it's going to be dope.
Yeah, it's going to, they're going to make so much money off of that merchandise. It's going to be insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yep.
Anyway, that's it for our nerd news. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Roundtable Review. We're back.
Mm-hmm.
Roundtable Review time. What we got?
Well, just a quick PSA. So we are recording this before the next Star Wars Clone Wars comes out.
Dang it.
So for those of you who were expecting a new Clone Wars review,
Not this week.
not this week.
We'll have 2 for you next week.
Yep,
probably.
we'll have 2 for you next week. In the meantime, you saw the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Indeed, I did.
Dish. What's going on with that movie?
So I would say this is a really fun movie.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a really simple movie.
Okay. Nothing. Doesn't really try to do anything outside the box or anything like that.
Not really. I mean, me and my wife had a great time watching it. We both thought it was, it's definitely like one of those movies anyone can go see. So
yeah, it's just kind of like one of those movies that's, for lack of a better term, it appeals like to the lowest common denominator.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to be a huge fan of the games, even though me and my wife both played them growing up. So yeah, I mean, you don't have to it explains everything for you. There's no guessing of basically he comes from this world. There's a lot of Easter eggs in it, which I still have to watch some videos on that to get like all the Easter eggs.
Okay.
But it's kind of funny because from what I remember, because he uses his rings. Okay, so if you play the Sonic games, his rings are used as kind of the currency, I guess, or like the coins, like equivalent to Mario.
Kinda, yeah, but and also
the more you get, the higher your score goes up.
Well, and it's also your life force too.
Yeah,
you get hit, you lose all your rings. If you get hit without a ring, you're done. Yeah.
So the way that these are used is they're kind of his portals to different worlds.
Interesting.
Which is pretty interesting way of using it. But he has like a map of like all the different worlds he's been to, and one of them looked like the Sega Saturn logo.
Really?
As a planet. Yeah. So I was like, oh, that's funny.
That must be where Sega Santro hangs out. Here.
Probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, actor-wise, Jean-Ralphio did a great job on Sonic.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. Tons of one-liners, but he wasn't as annoying as he is in Parks and Rec.
Sure.
Ben Schwartz is who I'm talking about, but he played Jean-Ralphio in Parks and Rec. But he does a great job of just kind of embodying, I think, Sonic the character. Like Sonic, for the most part, is pretty upbeat, happy-go-lucky,
kind of
kid, mischievous.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, he did a great job.
Now, how much 90s attitude does he have in this movie?
I would say he's got a pretty decent amount, actually.
Really? Okay.
Like, he's pretty spunky. He kind of wants to do things his way. Like, I don't want to ruin too much of the movie.
Sure.
I'll leave spoilers out except for maybe one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I never got taken out of the movie knowing it's Ben Schwartz.
Okay.
Like, you just think it's Sonic.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, he does a great job. Jim Carrey is so over the top, it reminds me of his heyday. And what I mean by that is it's similar to like The Mask and Ace Ventura, not as far as like comedic brilliance, but his character he plays, Dr. Robotnik.
Just super zany.
Yeah.
Just
very eccentric.
Yeah, okay. I can get
Think
into
of it
that.
as hyper-intelligent Ace Ventura.
Interesting. So now, would you say, because I take it this is, he does a pretty different interpretation of like what Dr. Robotnik is typically in the game here for the most part, right? He goes like he's not like just straight up just menacing evil scientist.
He works for the military.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so he wants to harness this hedgehog, his abilities.
Yeah.
Basically, this is the guy that the any military faction would call in if they can't do something, like he can get it done.
Gotcha.
So he's got his drones and all that stuff, kind of similar to like the robots, I guess, in the Sonic games, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I liked it. Humor is pretty good all around, though over the top at times. It's nostalgic for me. I grew up playing the games. I'm glad they worked in, kind of the little quips of Sonic, gotta go fast,
right,
and other things like the rings and chili dogs and callbacks to, various versions of Sonic, essentially.
So one question I do have about the humor, so like how juvenile does it get here? Because like if that's like all that it is, I feel like that's going to be kind of a downer for me at the movie. If it's like more like, okay, it's somewhat clever, or, at least like...
I'd say it's a mix.
A little bit of a mix? Okay. All right.
Yeah, so, it definitely is going to cater more towards kids.
Sure, yeah, which makes sense.
So, but yeah, glad they worked all that stuff in. If you have a family, this is kind of a no-brainer for the theater. It's fun to go, hang out, be there. And so, maybe not like a full-price theater. If I were to like be like, take my whole family to it type of thing.
You'd say this is more of a discount,
yeah, like a Tuesday, like if you have like a discount day near you, or you want to go to the discount theater. I would say, but if you want to support like kind of what this movie is about, like go see it at the theater.
Yeah. So all right,
but yeah, this will be the only spoiler of this thing. So but I think most people.
Yeah. So you've been warned.
You have been warned. 3, 2, 1. Tails is in the mid-credit scene, which is pretty cool.
How does Tails look?
Looks just like Tails.
Okay, he's not like some
I don't know how they would have played that
monstrosity.
in, honestly. I have no idea how they would have played that in.
Now I really want to see what that would have looked like. Just
freaky.
Just the original design for Tails here. I think that would be funny.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. No, that's cool. So it kind of seems like we're starting to like really get video game like movies and TV shows kind of to the point where we might one day end up seeing them as like the new kind of superhero movie type.
It
Scenario.
could be like this movie's made, I think, 200 million as of now.
I think so. Yeah.
So it's definitely getting a sequel.
Yeah. Well, but I think we're not right at that point where we get like, something like Tim Burton, like, Batman or like a Christopher Reeve Superman that kind of say, okay, these movies are here to stay. They're profitable. This is going to usher in a new era type thing here.
Yeah, I don't think it's that. I think it's just kind of, it's just fun. Like they came out at the right time too, because there's no movies out right now.
No.
So if you're a dad at home, it's kind of winter, so it's like, what are we gonna do? How am I gonna get the family at the house? Go see Sonic.
Well, yeah, because this movie originally I think was supposed to release like in November of last year, like before the CGI rework.
I think it worked better for them, to be honest.
No, I think you're right, especially considering how I think roughly around that time you had Frozen coming out. So
yeah, and that was a big movie too.
Yeah. So, but
yeah, and then as far as other characters, Cyclops is a good straight man. As far as like, he's not the funny guy, he's just the setup guy basically for Sonic to make jokes at.
He's really just is he just playing the everyday man type?
Yeah, just
role?
The straight man. Like literally, like he's trying to be a cop. He is a cop. He wants to move to a big city.
Yeah,
he's kind of a good old boy. Yeah, that's about it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's all I got for Sonic. It's a good movie.
Cool.
But yeah, I guess that's it. This is a shorter episode than we're used to, but
yep.
Thank you guys for listening. We greatly appreciate it. You can check us out on our social medias. You can support us on Patreon. So that's patreon.com/withnerds. Have an awesome week. And remember, everyone's a nerd about something.